Before we start to talk about your collaboration, I had a few questions for Doho Su about the beginnings. I was very curious if you could tell me about how it all started, about your epiphany, what brought you to art.
You mean being an artist?
Wow.
Okay. Well, I didn't really know until actually I graduated art school and moved to New York, and I was working as a freelance carpenter in New York. And one night, I realized this is my destiny to be an artist, and then was thinking, oh, what about all those years to be in an art school? And I thought because I was an artist, but there was a moment of realization that I wanted to be an artist, for sure. I don't know that was the right answer for your question.
And your father was a master of traditional arts, and there was also some form of connection to that, maybe?
Oh, okay. Yeah, he is considered as the first generation post-war contemporary Korean artist, but he was trained as a traditional painter, and also his practice was quite unique. He was more like a literary painter, like literary.
As a Chinese scholar
so
and painter.
Yeah, so he was more like a scholar than a professional painter. He writes. I mean, he reads, writes, and also practice music and calligraphy, and collects art and teaches. So the painting was just part of his general practice, and so Eulho and I grew up in that kind of environment, which was very unique even in Korea, because in the 60s and 70s, people were more interested in Western culture and the modernizations and things like that. So that gave a huge impact on both of us, and I'm pretty sure it did something for us to be an artist or architect later on.
You said once that your father was a Renaissance man, that he basically brought together the scholarship, the poetry, the literature, all the arts basically were in a fusion. It's obviously very fascinating that here you collaborate by bringing artist and architect and artist together. So can you maybe talk both about this? And I was also curious to hear from Eulho the whole connection to this sort of continuum, no, of your father's Renaissance dimension.
Well, when I was little, my dad started to build the traditional Korean house. I was about 6 or 7, somewhere around there, and the way he built this Korean house was quite interesting back then, and even now so, because the stuff that he was doing was very carefully done and very crafted, and based on a very traditional Korean carpentership and all those things. And I had a great opportunity to go over to Western culture, study in architecture, and learn about modernism, postmodernism, contemporary, and all this minimalism. All the stuff that I've learned in the Western culture was basically coming from what I've been growing up in back in Korea back then. I realized, long time ago, throughout the Korean history, there is a dynasty called the Yi Dynasty, and there's a lot of minimal and very contemporary sort of the customs that we used to have. And basically my father was providing those things while I was growing up. And now I'm grown up and I realize, my gosh, that's what I had before, and learning back in the Western culture. So right now, we're doing a lot of stuff, compared to the stuff that I learned in the Western culture versus the stuff that I grew up in the traditional Korean culture.